Hey guys, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but there is no sound.
There we go. Hey, Hannah, can you hear me?
It's also a 1,000 gallon pumper, 2,000 international, which is 1,000 gallon e-station. And we also operate a 2010 Ford F-350, which is in the summertime is primarily used for brush fires. And in the wintertime and other times of the year, we carry some equipment, utility equipment on that, some fans, some signs, some other equipment. We respond, as I said, we respond with most of our calls lately. All right, what's that? Yeah, our average right now is 70 to 75 calls per year. Majority of our calls are motor vehicle accidents on Route 7, which has posed a challenge to us in the last couple of years. We've purchased some sign packages. They were very expensive. But we've concentrating on safety on those things with some lighting also. So we respond to motor vehicle crashes, structure fires, search and rescue calls, medical assist with Pownell Rescue Squad, and the normal carbon monoxide and fire alarms, smoke detectors. Right now, we are also actively pursuing information and resources for a new station in Pownell Center, as everybody knows. We continue to raise funds for that every year in raffles and calendars. And again, we're receiving 2,000 right now. Taxpayers. Monday night, we voted to increase that this year from 20,000 to 40,000 for that fund. And also, we were looking at our budget this year from 2,000 to 62,000. Right now, half of our heating oil and insurance. Insurance that we pay for, and the town does cover our. Questions?
Any board member have any questions? Thank you, Jason. Let's stay with the fire department. Sorry about
Well, I'm the president of the department. For the Fire Association. In 1946, I community men meet for fire department. I purchased a truck. Purchased a Buick fire truck. Behind the church and Lane was donated by Henry Bassett on Depot and Sheep for a two-bay station. It was built with a recreation upstairs. In the mid-50s, they started fundraising by hosting weekly bingo games that made additions to the building and accommodate number of people attending a weekly bingo game. Other agencies benefited from bingo. Some sold 50-50 raffle tickets, some sold popcorn. Funding from bingo purchased all the apparatus and equipment that we have today, and eventually purchased the building where the station is located. Bingo built the new station and updated the fire trucks and equipment. In the early 2000s, the state mandated no smoking policies, which in turn reduced the number of people attending bingo each week. Shortly after, the state implemented regulations on how much we could pay out in our prizes. This new policy would put the end to our profitable fundraising, and eventually the building was to be sold. After the sale of the building, we were forced to increase the ballot article for additional funding. Fire Protective Association has been asking for $60,000 for over 20 years. Additional funding has been received in the past from state and federal grants. We continue to apply for any grants that are available each year. Unfortunately, we have not been able to receive any grant funding in several years. Fire departments follow standards set forth by the NFPA. These standards include the replacement of the fire apparatus every 20 years. All firefighters should have new gear every 10 years. Average cost to outfit a single firefighter is around $4,500 per person. In 1992, we purchased the engine tanker for $200,000. Today, to replace that truck is over $500,000. We also see increases in equipment such as vehicle extrication tools. Today's new cars are built more rigid construction. Therefore, we need to update our equipment to extricate people in these accident scenes. This equipment costs about $25,000. SCBA air packs should be replaced every 15 years. Ours are 2007 models. All these purchases have been made with no additional cost to the taxpayers of the town of Pownell. We currently have 35 members on our roster. All of these members are volunteer. We are proud to say that no one collects any money for their services. Everyone attends weekly trainings and meetings. Pownell Fire Protective Association responds to all types of emergencies within the town, from fires, accidents, trees down, flooding, alarm activations, medical assists, brush and grass fires, search and rescues, and even washing machine leaks. When someone has an emergency, they call 911, and if the 911 dispatcher doesn't know who to call, they they dispatch the fire departments. The 65 or 60,000 funding received from the town barely covers the operating costs to keep our doors open. The high cost of insurance, fuel, and basic needs doesn't allow us for purchase of equipment, gear, and updated fire apparatus. We appreciate the support and hope the community continues providing, and we appreciate the support and hope to continue providing the best fire protections possible to the community. So, just a little side note on that, it's, a lot of our calls that we do get are anything from washing machine leaks to search and rescues, so people think the fire department just does fire department things. We don't, and we're finding more and more that people panic, they call 911 and dispatcher calls the fire department because somebody will show up. So those are some of the other things that we have to do. Anybody have any questions?
Did they give you a reason why you don't receive the grant?
No. So we're 4 years into trying to receive a grant for new SCBA's air packs.
Mhm.
This year we partnered with Pownell Valley for a regional grant. Hoping it would entice the feds to give us the funding for that. That grant alone, if received, is over $200,000 to replace what we have for air packs. Between the two departments.
When is that, when would they determine, when would they be funding?
So they've already started funding on that. And that will end in 2 weeks.
Yes.
End of September is the last, and then they'll reopen the AFG grant for next year. Probably a month or so after.
And it's a yearly thing, right, Craig?
It is.
Yeah, you guys had told me that, but I just wanted to know.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, grant writing and stuff. We've tried to write our own grants and gotten nowhere. So we have a company that writes our grants for us, and that's, anywhere from, 1,500 to 2,000, correct? Every year. Is correct. To have somebody write the grants because, and they know how to word it. They know what information to give and what not to give, I guess.
There's a benefit to the grants and there's a downfall to the grants. The benefit is if you receive it. The downfall is it drives the price of the equipment up. So manufacturers are raising the price because if they can get people getting receiving grants, they're getting much more for the equipment.
Exactly.
Any more questions from board members? I'm gonna speak in the fire departments for a couple minutes because I was involved for a long time. And not in the rescue squad directly, so I'll speak on your stuff. When I first got into the fire department, I joined Pownell Center. When I was 16. I was going before that, but I could officially join when I was 16 years old. I will say that when I first joined at the time, the community effort and community cooperation between the two departments was pretty much null and void. There wasn't a lot of cooperation between at the time there were 4 departments. So when Pownell Center went to North Pownell to help out for a call, it was basically 4 departments working independently on the same call. That turned around. There was a group. There was a group of guys and women, men and women, that turned that around. And today, what we have in town, with the cooperation between the departments is such an incredible difference than what it used to be. Okay. Now it's when Pownell Fire Department rolls into Pownell Valley. Yep, there's leadership. Pownell Valley has the leadership, but the Pownell Fire Department members work directly, and it happens the other way too, vice versa, okay? It's vice versa. I'm just throwing an example. And I know it's that way now, because that was that way when I left. That doesn't happen everywhere. That doesn't happen in every community, right? I mean, there's communities you guys work with right now that I know it doesn't happen in, okay? That when fire department A rolls in to help fire department B, it's a whole different thing. Here, when one rolls in to help the other and you work together as one unit. Am I right? Absolutely. And I just want, I think there's something that gets overlooked in our community. I think there's something that anyone outside of the fire service or the emergency responder service probably isn't aware of. Right? I mean, you guys all know, you guys all know what happens. I know what happens. I was involved in it. But I think, I'm not even sure the entire select board knows how that works. We do now. And I just wanted to get that out there. It just doesn't happen everywhere. And you guys will, places that you roll in mutual aid, it doesn't happen. Like right now, to this day. And we're very fortunate in Pownell, in the town, to have that. Because you have X number of guys and you have X number of guys. But when there's a major incident, it's not X and Y. Okay, I should have said it different. You have X, you have Y. When there's a major incident, it's not X and Y, it's X, Y.
Yeah.
Right, and that's how it works. And I think that's an important thing. I think that's something that's missed.
Right, I mean, even though we have that number of people on our roster, there's people, at no point do you ever get that many people.
Exactly.
I mean, during the day, we are a busy community, so
Right.
if we get 4 or 5 people between 2 departments, that's a great turnout.
I ran a call today with 2 people.
Yeah.
2 people.
It's just, everybody goes in a different direction to go to work.
Right, and I but I think, I think that's something that's really missed, Jamie and Jason, I don't think that's something that the average taxpayer and resident understands of how things actually work when there's, right? And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, obviously, if you're on a leaky washing machine, it's a little different, but when you're at a full-blown accident or a full-blown fire or grass fire or whatever it is, even a search and rescue, different things.
But I also think it's important to understand too, that the dynamics have changed too, and we have mandates now. Our gas meters, very high costs of maintaining those. Air pack repairs are very, very expensive. Truck repairs, extremely expensive.
That's the other downfall to some of the grant stuff is when we replaced our last air packs, we replaced them all at one time. Well, they all go out of the date at the same time too, so that's what we ran into. We tried to get them replaced, but couldn't through grants, so that's why we came to the town this year, and we're lucky enough to get some help replacing the air bottles to at least keep us up to date. Because the air bottles were only good for 15 years. And that's all it is.
And the other thing that's changed too is the amount of training. I mean, firefighter 1 is a 6-month course now. It's 270 hours. I mean, 8 years ago it was 15 hours. It was a 20-hour course.
My first one was 40 hours. The last one I took was 110.
Like I said, we have some really highly trained people.
Dedicated.
Yeah.
Right. It's a dedication.
We have a very strong group of younger folk coming up through.
Yeah. I'm seeing it.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
The thing we don't have is we don't have a strong group that does a lot of fundraising anymore either. That was.
Well, I'd like to touch on that when we get
So
to the
again, like I
future.
was saying, some of the dynamics have changed. We don't have the funds that we used to have. We didn't, years ago, we sold Christmas trees. I mean, there were all kinds of things that they did to raise money. But nowadays, it's you have all you can to maintain that training, and here, too. I mean, you've seen it, and you're part of it.
I'd say the latest firefighter 1 course is 8 months now.
And you have to pass this.
Yeah.
There's a level, there's like 10 levels. You have to pass every level to get up through it. And it's not easy. It's,
There's 117 practicals that you have to pass. As well as.
the other thing.
The
The
full course is 70% or higher.
We reimburse fuel now on people traveling to schools in Manchester and the academy up in North of Rutland.
They certainly don't. The new training requirements are most certainly set up to be paid. You know, they're not, it's not supposed to be for volunteers.
It is
You know
the
what I mean?
exact same.
It is,
Paid firefighter.
but it's set up,
Exact same thing.
it's really essentially they're forcing it to people to be paid. Cause it's not cost efficient for volunteers to go do this now.
And the thing though, you're talking life safety.
Right.
Yeah.
What we do is our lives are on the line, so you can't cut a shoestring or you can't cut that cost to save a buck to say that, oh, well, you're a volunteer, that means your life's not worth. You're still going into the same situation that a paid fire department going into. We're unpaid professionals. That's what it is.
Right.
Volunteer ends when you sign your name on the paper. You volunteer to come here and do.
Yeah.
A professional job. It's just what it is.
They just don't make it easy for you.
Oh, absolutely.
And our insurance costs, like I said, our insurance costs continually every year increase.
Everybody hits that.
And we're even going now to higher deductibles, anything you can do to keep. Nice.
Becky,
Sorry if I shut the lights off for our presentation, or you want us to just read off of it? I don't know if it'll.
you can start them off.
All right.
I'm good with it. Sorry.
All right, so thank you everyone for coming. I'm Becky, and this is Danielle, one of our EMTs, who's going to read our presentation. So to start off, our PRS Panel Rescue Squad mission statement and values. There are 5 core values. To start, the Panel Rescue Squad is a team of dedicated, professional, and compassionate providers. We provide outstanding patient care to anyone, anytime, or any place to ensure the best possible outcome to improve the health to those in and out of our community. The second is integrity. We serve our community with loyalty, dedication, and honesty. The third is teamwork. The strength of our team lies within collaboration and supporting one another and effective communication. Accountability is the fourth. We value the ability of our staff and organization to honor our commitments to our community and to each other. Professionalism, we treat all individuals and organizations with respect and fairly without prejudice. Moving on to our history, just currently the building we're residing in now that we call home, we have been here since 2009. We currently house 2 ambulances in our ambulance bay. One is gas, one is diesel. PR1 is a 2019 E450, PR2 is a 2022 diesel E450. Both ambulances are equipped to the ALS level. We are now currently a critical care paramedic level agency, so we are able to provide a higher standard level of care to our community and surrounding communities. Panel Rescue was the first ambulance service in the state of Vermont, which was established in 1960. And when other agencies in our area began to develop their own agencies, they did seek out Panel Rescue to assist with starting their own agencies as well, which we did assist with. The ambulance and its equipment were often on display at schools as far away as Middlebury, Vermont. And in 1963, when Bennington Rescue members began organizing, it was Pownell that they turned to for guidance and help. In 1969, the town of Pownell approved $8,000 for the purchase of a second ambulance. In 2018, we bought our newest ambulance for a price of over $200,000. With a steady increase in specialized training, required state certifications, and demands of providing 24-hour service, the rescue squad developed as a separate community service. And in 1981, the Pownell Rescue and First Aid Squadron was legally incorporated as the Pownell Rescue Squad Incorporated. Initially, it was a conglomerate between fire and rescue, and it was a full volunteer-based service. And at that point, when the phone rang, you had to be within earshot to hear that there was a call. So things have obviously changed quite a bit. Moving on, we put together a bit of information regarding what 911s and transfers look like. 911s are emergent. We are legally obligated to respond. Patient is transported to the closest appropriate facility. Sometimes that is not SVMC. Our cardiac care patients that need catheterization have to go all the way to Troy, New York, for those services. So we do transport there as well, and to Albany Med for our traumas and things like that. In transfers, they're either emergent or non-emergent based on the acuity of the patient from the hospital, from what information they provide us. They do offer a higher reimbursement rate. Hospitals select a destination based on patient diagnosis, so they will let us know what is going on with the patient and will determine with the doctors on site where the patient needs to go. These transfers can be refused based on crew status or level of care needed for that. So if we were to have a non-paramedic level crew and it was a paramedic level transfer, we would be allowed to go ahead and decline that transfer because we cannot provide the services required to transport that patient. One of the other questions is, why did we go to a paid service versus fully volunteer? Volunteering has all but begun to dwindle over the years. People wish to be compensated for their time, which is understandable, as socioeconomic statuses have changed. People have become increasingly financially driven, a shift largely influenced by changes in lifestyle and the growing necessity for multiple sources of income to meet basic financial obligations. As a result, individuals are often less able or willing to volunteer their time, as the pressure to secure paid employment has become a primary concern for many. The demand for financial stability in the face of rising living costs has left less room for unpaid volunteer activities, even for those who may have the desire to contribute to their communities. We used to rely on mutual aid services to cover our community from the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and volunteers covered our service area from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. until they had to go to their full-time jobs that following morning. In response to the increased demand for services within our community and neighboring areas, we transitioned to a paid staffing model to effectively address these needs. Certification costs, we just wanted to give everyone kind of an insight into what it costs to educate and certify a person to get them onto the truck. These numbers that we do have on here are strictly just for education and obtaining a card. It does not include the additional costs of additional training on their trucks within their services and any other upkeep and additional hours of training that are required to maintain their certifications every 2 years. An EMT is a BLS level. The basic certification cost is $1,800, and it takes over 170 hours of in-class time alone to maintain and obtain a certification. For the AEMT, it is $2,500 and 240 hours. To put a paramedic on our truck to provide paramedic level services, it is approximately $29,000 to go ahead and get that individual certified with total hours of 1,800 hours of class time. And I just want to say again, that doesn't include anything else after that. That's just getting through class, getting your diploma, and getting your certification through national and state level testing. The increasing demands for education to meet certification and licensing requirements often conflict with the realities of modern busy lifestyles. Many individuals find it challenging to balance the pursuit of professional qualifications with the demand of work, family, and personal responsibilities. This tension between career advancement and daily life obligations can create significant barriers for those seeking to fulfill necessary certification standards. The career path for first responders is not only physically demanding, but also intellectually challenging, as well as emotionally and psychologically taxing. These professionals must constantly navigate high-stakes situations that require quick thinking, problem-solving, and resilience, while also managing the emotional and mental strain that accompanies exposure to trauma and critical incidents. This combination of demands places significant pressure on first responders of all types, requiring a unique blend of physical endurance, intellectual capability, and emotional strength. Assisting individuals in their most difficult moments is often the most rewarding aspect of a first responder's career. Being able to provide care and support when people are at their most vulnerable offers a profound sense of purpose and fulfillment, as it allows for first responders to make a meaningful impact in the lives of those in need. This is a little bit of information on our call breakdowns. We've gone ahead and provided 2023 and up to September 17th of this month for 2024. As you can see, Pownell 911 in 23 was approximately 30% of our call volume. Mutual aid 911, approximately 26. Local transfers were 13%. Transfers to tertiary care centers was approximately 10. And cancels and refusals are both 12 and 9%. In 2024, Pownell 911's increased slightly to 37%. Mutual aid 911 calls did stay the same at 26% so far. Local transfers are at 12%, tertiary care transfers at 5%, and refusals at 13%, and cancels are 7%. So cancels are when we are dispatched to 911 calls and we are either canceled prior to arrival on scene or canceled on scene as our services are not required. The number of calls, as you can see in this graph, in 2018, as we worked on transitioning from volunteer to paid staff, we utilized mutual aid to our community 51 times, and that's in that 1 year alone. Since 2019, we have engaged in mutual aid for our community on 31 occasions. Each instance was necessitated either by the requirement for additional ambulances or because our personnel were already assisting another citizen. Mutual aid. Where do we respond mutual aid to? So we respond mutual aid to Bennington, North Adams, Williamstown, and many areas in Rensselaer County. Why do we respond to mutual aid? We receive federal funding. As such, we are legally obligated to respond when available to these calls as they come through for requests for assistance. Personnel and insurance costs for overhead for us, as you can see in this graph here. As a small rural agency, we do not have competing wages with nearby agencies, making it more difficult to retain employees. We are unable to offer the benefits other agencies with more capability financially due to costs. In 2020, it was approximately 250,000. In 2021, it rose to about 330,000. 2022, it was just over 400,000. And in 2023, we almost hit 500,000, so $500,000. Moving on to the next slide. So equipment prices. Now, we all know that our equipment is very expensive in order for us to all respond to these emergencies with the equipment that we need to do what we need to do. Our stationary repeater, which is the repeater we use to communicate with dispatch and each other and coordinate with other agencies, is $18,000. The mobile repeater itself is $4,000. To equip our agency with handheld mobile radios, it's $20,000. A base model gas non-4-wheel drive ambulance currently is approximately $225,000. The Lucas CPR device, that's what we utilize to assist us with CPR. We have one on each truck. Those are $15,500 each. We were able to luckily get grants for those. Our power load stretcher system that we have in our ambulances, that costs $38,000. Plus, every year we have to pay $6,700 for preventative maintenance to ensure that these pieces of equipment continue to work. Our stair chair is $15,000, and our Zoll monitor, which we use for ALS services and cardiac care, is $53,000 each. This is the average cost to roll one ambulance out the door without cost of employees, medications, and other needed supplies, which is around $458,000. That's per truck just to get it out on the road. What would a ballot increase look like for the taxpayer? So this is just a bit of a breakdown calculation based on population, the amount that could potentially be asked for, and the price per household per year. So for 50,000, price per household per year would be $13.51, which would be $1.12 a month. For 100,000, it would be $27.02, which would be $2.25 per month. At 125,000, if you're looking at $33.78 per year, $2.81 per month. At 150,000, it would only be $40.54 per year per household, at $3.37 a month. And at $800,000, it would only be $216.22 per year per household, at $18.02 per month. Does anyone have any questions?
Is that the end of your presentation?
It is, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Can we just turn the lights back on before we? Please.
Everybody bear with the light. Hold on.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you. Any board members have any questions?
Did you guys get any grants this year?
We did not get any grants this year. Our last grant was in 2022. We got which was for the 2 Lucas CPR devices, partial assistance for radios and partial assistance for the computer. That was the last one years. And we try every year, just like the fire department says, equipment updates and
Some of the things that some people, correct me if I'm wrong. Won't understand as part of the grants, like if it's a mutual aid grant, could be a county-wide grant. So it's a lump sum of money, and then it'll be divided to whoever's awarded it. It's not like that lump sum of money goes to one department. But it's how many departments are in, say, Bennington County. 27, probably not.
Well, that depends on what grant for it, right? So if they write
I'm
their own
just saying,
grant,
I'm just want people out there to understand why people don't always get grants.
Mhm.
Because
Well, everybody's voted for grants.
Right.
that's everybody is going for the same amount of money.
Even if they don't need them.
right, so
And the AFG grant, only 2% of it. Correct. It's all-
But one thing that we're looking at, Bill brought up at the Bennington County Chiefs meeting. This past week was doing a regional grant for the county. And trying to figure out what every department can agree on. What is needed between all the departments and doing one big
Good luck with that.
regional grant. It's more enticing for
Well,
them, because they can service.
I'm
about
talking
12
about,
to
good luck
13.
with getting everybody together.
Well, we did.
We had been.
yes.
That means
That's very different. than-
decide what they
Depending on
want,
what to get.
decide what they want to get. That's what I'm saying. You can get everybody together, but get everybody together to decide what they all want to go for. Good luck.
It's a little more enticing.
It's a great idea. I shouldn't say that. It's a great
Because they
idea.
can take and service 12 or 13 departments all at once, but with one grant.
We also have to see too that all our agencies are all seeing a big increased cost of communications. As with the town, because the town is also paying Bennington Police Department now to dispatch, and to the fire services.
Everything's going out. There's no doubt about it.
And
That's why we're here.
we've had meetings with the police chief up there, and he's told us, expect to see increases, so.
That's why we're here, right? Everything's going on. Right? That's why we're all here. All right, so let's move into, any more questions for rescue squad? You guys? Good. Let's move into discussion about the future of emergency services in town. Then we just start, we'll do the same thing. We'll go right around the room, Jason. And we'll come to Jamie and go back to. Becky.
Our priority is center station replacement. Definitely.
Did you state why you wanted to take it?
The building is in really rough shape. It's literally disintegrating out at the side of the building, one there's the parking lot. The costs are through the roof to heat it and maintain it. It's not a, we can't work on our trucks in there, it's too small, we have height issues. I mean, we back that truck in the building, we have access to one side of the truck. With gravel floor, I mean, because of the fact of restrictions with height.
And there's no footing underneath the building either. So we're constantly adding concrete underneath because it's just washing away underneath it. Deteriorating and just washing away because there is no footing all the way around the outside of that building. The new section. there is.
Residents to know why.
Yeah, no, I understand. And, the wall and the truck bay. There's points, we repointed it in between some of the cinder blocks where there was a point where you could see daylight outside through the wall itself because of the way the building is settling and moving constantly. So we've repointed and prolonged it very long, so.
Multiple roofs, literally, we just have roof after roof.
So what I'm hearing is because of the height issue. The other part of that is you have the special order apparatus.
Yes,
Can't go for a standardized equipment. and that's fit in your station.
We've
So that
lost out
adds
on a
to the
couple of
cost
trucks.
also.
Lost out on a couple of trucks in the past few years because they were too tall for that station.
The last couple truck purchases in this town have both been used trucks. Used fire trucks. It's important to note that.
And, one thing, so do you guys, how do you guys get your water? Now, is that, you have your own well?
You know, the well at the center station is the same well that the former town office used, so there lies another future endeavor here, I believe.
And you know, obviously, not our fault, long before us, but just bringing everything out into the open and showcasing some of the challenges. Definitely.
Right, that was, there, you know, that was the building, the original building was on the Lehman water system. Right, I can give you, I can give you all the background on that, and then. When they drilled the well for the town office, they got hooks. The building got hooked together with the town office. Because it was, you know, basically a town building, you know, whatever, there's a bunch of history there, but that's how that came about. So originally it was on the Lehman water system, as was everything in pretty much in Powell Center.
And could you just explain, because a lot of people have asked me why you guys can't be under one roof, and I know why the reason you can't be under one roof. But I'd like somebody to explain to the community why there are certain areas of the town.
One, the cost of the building that size is something we don't even want to look at. The other thing is that, it doesn't matter where you are in this town, our response times to calls right now are 5 to 10 minutes. Because of the strategically placed stations. We get a call in North Pownell, there's a truck at your dooryard within 5 to 10 minutes. If we get a call in East Pownell, which believe it or not, is a long run from here, or even from Pownell Center, there's a truck in your dooryard in 5 to 10 minutes. If I have to drive from East Pownell to South Pownell and then back to East Pownell, it happened with the rescue squad many years ago when they were when we were running volunteer with them. It could take a half an hour sometimes to get to a house, just because of the travel time from your house to this house to get this truck to go to yours. It's just, especially in the winter time, and that's how we have maintained that. They were placed there for a reason when they were placed there, and it's still an unnecessary thing.
I agree 100%, but I've been asked that question.
Oh, yeah, and I understand, but being, you know, I've been asked the same, and that's the way that I kind of always explain it. And
Well, I think in years past, because it was 4 separate fire departments, right? Each village kind of had their own, and
well, that was part of it as well, for sure, right? I mean, there's a reason why they
But
did
it worked.
But it worked.
Right.
There was a purpose for it. Quicker response time. But we also have tons of industrial workers living in town.
Yeah.
Don't have that.
Right. We look at our calls and look at our response times, I mean, we're 5 to 10 minutes, no matter where we are in this town.
In fact,
From the minute that you call 911.
No matter what.
It's a long time.
It's a very long.
But in the grand scheme of things, if I'm laying in bed at my house on Little Pownell Road in the middle of the night,
Right.
that's really, you know, think about it. You call 911 at your house, I'm at your door.
Yeah.
Guaranteed within 10 minutes. So.
Sarah had something.
I was just wondering, do you guys know what you want to increase your ballot articles to this year? Do you know of the amount?
Yeah, he hit on it
Just,
earlier.
I guess it's
Yeah.
60, you said.
40 for the building fund
Okay.
and 62,
62. 62 is what I wrote down.
yeah, oh, 52 to 62 for the operation.
Jamie. Future of emergency services.
Basically, you know, our station is in decent shape. We did just put a $23,000 boiler system in there. Just got done adding that into it. So our next big thing for the station wise is probably eventually we'll have to look at roof maintenance. There's no roof on it, but they don't last forever as well. And then code updates and things like that, we'll have to stick. We'll have to deal with them as they come. As far as our apparatus, we've got trucks there, our oldest one is a 1975. 75, you know, which is our source pumper. We do, you know, we supply water for scenes here and out and about, we're in North Adams. All the way to 2001.
2005, our rescue trucks, 2005.
And our rescue truck, we did just put a new rescue body on the back of that. We looked into it. It was starting to show some wear. Being just an F-350, we decided rather than go through a whole new truck, we decided to put a body on it. So that was $30,000 versus, you know, buying a new rescue truck is anywhere from 130 to 230. We were able to keep our costs down there. Engines. We do currently have a truck on order. Should be here. Might be by the end of this year, if not at the beginning of next year. And that's over $500,000. And that is being financed by us. So that's unfortunately the last one that we're gonna be able to do. You know, this is all left from when they ran bingo and the sale of the building and things like that. Those days are coming to an end. So we were able to replace one more, so the town's gonna get one more group.
And that's good for how many years?
20,
20?
by an FBA standard. It's a double-edged sword. Like I said, the last two that we bought were $200,000. The 92 we bought was 215,000. That's the one we're replacing now. The tanker we bought in 2000, that was 199,000. But things have just gone so far out of the book. And with our 92, before we made the decision to buy a truck, we looked into refurbishing it, but by the time you did that, you were gonna spend $300,000 and still have a real truck. So financially, it wasn't. So that's our latest.
I think our biggest hurdles, and Jason, yeah. Well, agree with me is, expensive equipment. And trying to stay up to date with equipment, there's new launch regulations that define in that. If they pass, we might be shut down. Honestly, there's. They're pretty good. And they're geared towards creative professional requirements there.
Big cities.
Big cities.
Because there's NFPA standards and then there's OSHA. There's two separate entities. The problem is if you don't follow a lot of the NFPA standards, something happens, there's nobody back. So, you're on your own.
So if one of our firefighters get hurt while fighting a fire in the interior, and they've got 2005 gear on and the 2017 airbag on.
Yes. I mean, I've got a quote here from this
It won't be
week.
a problem.
I have a quote from this week from Northeast Municipal on a set of gear, a full set of terminal gear for a firefighter. And you're looking at $4,065.
And that's just for the gear.
That's
That's not
just-
for the SCBA because we
No,
have
no, that's
posters at the
just your-
town
that-
office. I
that-
want the public
No,
to know that.
That's just your coat, pants, boots and helmet and gloves.
Yep.
And a Nomex hood.
And a Nomex, yep.
That's one set of firefighter gloves, right?
And that's baseline.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
setting.
nothing great.
Gloves.
That's right.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
About this, we bought.
Right. I mean, and we've always, you know, we've spent more on our people, but, you know, if you go baseline, you're still putting people, there's bloodborne pathogens, there's everything that we have to do with along the lines of. We try to keep everybody as protected as we can.
And if somebody does go in to a fire or an accident or does something and they rip their gear isn't, that jacket that's ripped is no longer any good at the parade. You cannot use that for the next, so now you have to order your firefighter, new
Yeah,
gear.
these are things that will, and
If it can be repaired, and if it can't be, then you have to buy a new,
Well, if you follow
You never
guidelines,
know.
gear should be cleaned every time you go to a call.
We're doing that.
the job, we did purchase a new set of excavation equipment. Last year,
It's been 2 years.
2 years. We bought a set of cordless tools, so we work on batteries. And some more rescue jacks because the cars are getting stronger and the way they're constructed, the tools that we had just weren't cutting. We were breaking tools trying to extricate them. Those are all things that we have to go through.
Yep, Tara,
Same question I asked Pownell Valley. Are you planning to increase, and do you know how much?
Yeah.
So we're not increasing our general budget, but we are putting in a separate ballot article, $28,000 for, equipment.
Okay, so an equipment
Right.
ballot article.
Another hurdle we've been running into is, getting state instructors. So there's less availability to get classes closer to home. So, and get these guys trained, so. That's another problem. I put in for 2 separate, state classes, and I was shot down by the both of them.
Right now, the closest one going on is Manchester.
Well, the state instructors say they don't want to travel next time.
So if you want your firefighters trained, you want them to stay level trained, they're gonna have to travel.
Presently, those 2 main instructors are traveling about an hour and a half to 2 hours from their base to Manchester. Just
We have
full
been
for thought for people.
the last 3 years, we've hosted classes down here, but that's out of our pocket.
Right.
Becky, where do you see the future of it?
We'd like to. There are a lot of factors, lower reimbursement rates, increased costs, equipment. All across the board is expensive, supplies are expensive. Doesn't matter how many grants you apply for at this point, I mean, it's like the fire departments were getting shut down. We try to write most of the ones we can in-house, and I wrote the one for the 1 in 22 that we received. We're gonna have to start looking at replacing our old ambulance, which is a 2017, just turned 80,000 miles on it, but 80,000 miles, we just had it at the shop, did $2,000 worth of repairs. We're probably gonna need a new radiator and stuff in it, so there's another, which is obviously all wear and tear stuff, but, this is our latest ambulance, the 2022 was the first, time we've had taken out a loan on an ambulance, so. We will probably have to take out a loan for the second one as well, when it comes that time, but something that we need to think of as well is working on maintaining the funds for that. We'd like to obviously be able to retain some employees, but we don't have the assistance or the fundage to be able to compete with the larger agencies around us to offer them benefits and educational increases and stuff like that, so we'd like to be able to retain some more employees. To be able to assist with all that.
Anybody have any questions? I'm sure, I know you do. I knew you had one. Same question, go ahead.
Same question.
We are looking at potentially increasing to 125,000.
125. Is that on one ballot article or
That would be for the operation.
for the operations? Okay.
What is your ballot article number?
It's at 50,000, which it has been since 2016,
Right, so you're thinking of increasing to 125.
potentially, yes.
Okay.
Which would only be $2.81 a month per household,
Right.
which is what it costs less for you to go down and get a cup of coffee for that.
That's fine.
Which is why we broke it down like this, because people only see the number.
Any more questions from board members? So. Does any board member have anything that they want to discuss about?
Some way to energize the younger folks to wanna volunteer or work in the field. I mean,
Well, it doesn't sound to me like the problem right now with manpower.
It's not manpower.
We don't have an issue with actually.
Not that you're gonna turn anybody away.
I'm just saying.
We're fortunate for that.
Not that you're gonna turn anybody away. But I've been sitting here for an hour. Right, and I've sat through these before and I've talked to you guys individually. So the future of emergency services in town is exactly what brought us here tonight and what started this whole conversation back. Whenever we started coming around. It's funding. Right? You can break it into one word and that's what it is. It's funding. You're not having a problem getting guys trained or women trained. Right? Men and women are getting trained all day long. Right? You're not having a problem finding men and women to go on calls. Really, you're covering the calls, all three of our organizations for the most part. With some help from mutual aid, it's been that way. My whole life, that's never gonna change, right? Until you have a fully paid department and I don't see that, but, you know, so I see it as funding. And that's what spurred this whole thing back when we started this, was to have the town select board, the town fathers, for lack of a better term at this point, try to help you guys and girls find funding. Right, that's where we started this. The days of fundraising are over. You're not gonna fundraise, you're not gonna do a chicken barbecue and a raffle. So if somebody thinks that you can do a chicken barbecue every weekend or whatever it is, when you're sending people to 200 and whatever many hours for a firefighter one, and you're sending them to 240 hours for an EMT or AEMT, and you're sending them to Manchester or wherever. So the days of asking somebody whether they're paid or whether they're a volunteer to go sell raffle tickets or have a chicken barbecue are done. Let's face it, right? I'm gonna put it on the table.
Yeah, I mean.
Sure, you're still gonna do certain things, you're still gonna do certain fundraising, right? But you are not gonna sustain.
No.
Right now, they're more of a PR thing.
Exactly.
I mean, more of a, hey, we are putting forth some.
But if somebody,
Sustainably, no.
but if somebody out there,
Not up $5,000.
if somebody out there thinks that you're going to sustain any single one of these operations, say nothing about all three. But if any person out there or group of people thinks that you're gonna sustain what's going on by doing fundraising on your own, you're living in the wrong world. Because it's not gonna happen, because you guys all touched on it. Most every single one of you guys, except for the one who was 82 years old, probably isn't still working, but most everybody else has a job. Bob probably still is working. I don't know. Carolyn probably still working, you know, and I'm not saying you're 82, Carolyners, either. I'm just saying that you're not. Most everyone has a full-time job, they're supporting their house, they're supporting their family, you're just not gonna do it. So that's why we're here, that's why the town, this group here is trying to help our emergency services find some funding, however it is. However it is. I don't have the answer right now, we're working on some different things, I will say that. But it's slow going, it's no quicker for us to find it than it was for you guys, trust me, okay? You know, we're still working on it. Ellen?
I just wanna say, cause these guys didn't come right out and say it, that people need to realize it's 7 days a week. 24/7. For every one of these departments.
Right.
You call, you get somebody 24/7, 7 days a week.
Right.
You may not get the same face if you call every week, but you get somebody, and it's 24/7. We don't just say, hey, we're gonna be a fireman from 2 o'clock this afternoon to, 5 o'clock, and then I'm gonna go to dinner and I'm all done. It's every day.
And
Same
to
with
me,
squad.
the added value, so if, you know, you lose a loved one, is it worth voting for the extra $50,000? You know, that's something you have to put in too, because we don't tend to think of it that way, but you guys, the quicker you get there, you know, it's just better for the community. So it's, you know, people need to think about what they might lose if we don't.
People need to realize that if rescue squad's not here, you're going to emergency services. You don't have the personnel either. Upwards of 45 minutes to an hour for an ambulance.
Not 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
Right.
So the other thing I just want to hit on too before we close on Mike is, we've had a lot of discussion about this, our department. I'm sure you guys have too, like long meetings and discussions. We need to change we feel we need to change the petition to increase our budget. You guys were 20 years at yours, and with ours, our operating budget hasn't changed in over 20 years. We have asked more for the building fund and the truck and equipment fund.
You're talking about changing the process, Jason?
Yes,
Yeah.
getting signatures,
So I just wanted to-
it's very hard.
Yes, it's
I
very.
thought that's what you were talking about, but I just wanted to make sure.
It's hard
that
to change
that's
it,
what
those
you're
are
talking
state mandated things.
I can
Kara.
speak to that a little bit. I know you can't make a decision tonight,
about. But we're
obviously,
not gonna make any decisions for it at all whatsoever, so.
but the board does have the power to allow emergency service such as these departments not to collect signatures, but require it of other agencies.
Excellent.
We've been looking into this.
Did not know that.
Well,
It's a
like
new idea.
That's what I'm telling you guys, okay, and the general public, right, our taxpayers and our residents. We haven't, just because we haven't been able to find the funding that we're looking for, okay, because we're still trying to find something without raising, or coming to the taxpayers, okay? But we have been working on different ways and different avenues, and things to do. Okay, you know, Tara's been working on this, you know, she can't work on it all the time because there's a lot of other stuff too, but, you know, there's definitely some research being done. Since we started this conversation. And, you know, that's something that we have found out that, you know, we can do that.
And we are also taxpayers.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we would like
Sometimes I
to
think
find a
people-
way not to affect the
forget that somebody-
taxpayers, but
But people forget that when we ask for an increase, that it's us that are paying it as well.
But the increases that even the increases that we're asking for, like they pointed out, they're
Yeah.
minuscule. I mean.
They're-
the grand
they
scheme of
are
things,
minuscule.
It's
That's
a
what
big,
people,
it's a
people see the big numbers,
It's a
they're
big
like, oh
number
my
on
God.
paper, but at the end of the day, it's $5 and, you know.
So
$5
I don't-
a month.
I don't
but
wanna beat the
without
dead
us,
horse.
it's a trouble.
I think we've really covered a lot of things tonight. I think we brought a lot of things out in the open tonight that. Maybe a lot of people or some people didn't know for sure, right? So I'm gonna ask if there's any public input, ideas or comment. I want to thank every single. Person who's here tonight. For coming in, some of these things are a little bit. At least they have in the past, right? They've been a little bit. Hard to talk about, right? It's not an easy thing. For anybody to sit here and talk about the things that we're talking about tonight, so. I'm gonna ask for. Input first. And I'm gonna try to limit it to 3 minutes if I can. And then if we don't have a lot, we can come back. To someone. And,
Jim's hand up is on.
what's that?
Jim has his hand up. now,
Yep,
so-
all right, Jim,
First of all, at the beginning, I couldn't hear any volume, so can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank
you
all
stay,
the volunteers. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim Kosis, North Mason Hill Road, Pownell. First of all, I just want to thank all the volunteer fire department members. And I also want to thank the rescue squad for being in town here to take care of us. Mike, hopefully you'll just let me go a little bit longer than 3 minutes if it takes longer, but my discussion tonight is mainly gonna be about the fire departments. I think the rescue squad is a separate entity. It needs more discussions on that, on the funding and everything, but Mike, you hit the nail on the point with funding. Funding is what is needed. We have a total fire department that is volunteered 100%. They have made a commitment to this town. Each individual has made a commitment. And they've done the best they could way back when they first started to at least have some monies through bingos and all of their activities to give us what we have right now. But we as a community, we need to commit to them more than what we're doing right now. I was one back at the beginning to say, why can't they consolidate? Is that a cost savings? I'm at the point now that, as Mike said, they work as an organization, two organizations together mutually, and it works out really good. We should be having we should not be having a neighborhood or a neighbor deciding against another neighbor whether we should fund a fire department. What would happen if those ballot articles were defeated? Would we see for sale signs? How are we going to protect our properties and everything like that? Somehow we need to make sure that our fire departments can survive. What will we do as a community for fire safety at that point? It's time the community funds the fire department and maybe think out of the box and somehow maybe put it within our budgets, all right? Pull it away from the ballot articles and let's commit to them that they will get this certain amount every single year. It would increase like everything else increases in the budget, but at least they would know that they don't have to depend on a person voting and whether they have to get that vote or not. We should make a decision that we are here to have a fire protection and that we want our homes protected. The purpose of a budget of $100,000 in each department is very small amount. The rescue squad had a nice little slide there that's kind of explained how much would it cost to have our people or how the taxpayers pay into this one amount to protect our homes from fires. And I've been enlightened in the last week with some of the communications I've received that says, they may not be at a lot of calls, but they're there available if it does happen. And I just think it's time that we think out of the box and we kind of say, move the monies from a ballot article. Let's support the fire departments. If it's $100,000 a year for both of them, but putting the building aside, I think we need to commit to a building for the other department or for the Pownell Valley because they did not have, first of all, the ability to have bingo and everything like that. I'm sure that two departments would work together to say that department may be able to get an extra $40,000 a year to help build a building. It's going to take longer than 30 years at $40,000 to build a building for a fire department. So I think what the town needs to do is somehow work together to see if there's a way we could get a bond for that fire department building. It is spread over 30 years, and I'm sure the taxpayers would be willing to vote for it because this is the most important emergency service that we need. Think of back in the old days when a farm building caught on fire and the people were dragging the wagons over there. This is part of our community that we should be committing to. And I think by putting it into the budget as a line item, it would be something that they would be able to hopefully support. So I'm looking to see if the two of the fire departments and the select board can get together to see how this would best work out, whether we could do the $100,000 each, whether we can do, if it needs to go up to 125, that's fine. But I think the town of Pownell is ready to move in this direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excuse me, anybody else there?
Carl's hand is up.
Carl?
Oh, you're muted, Carl.
I'm muted all night.
I think it was our fault the first time.
Mute. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There we go. I just will say one thing. I would disagree with Jim on the dividing of the emergency services between rescue and fire. I think that's antithesis of what we're trying to do. We're trying to get everybody to work together and to split that up. I disagree with Jim on that. That's all I had to say. Now, if I can
Just,
mute myself.
just,
We're not gonna
just,
debate back and forth.
that's not what I was
Jim, we're
doing.
not gonna debate. We're not gonna debate.
All right,
Thank
but
you.
that was not what I was saying.
That was kind of Carl, that was comment was kind of uncalled for, honestly. We're not, this isn't a debate session. This is, public input, public comment and some ideas. And I'm not gonna get into a debate session with anybody. Anybody else have their hand up? Let me just check, make sure nobody's here down, because I'll come right to you though. I won't
think
miss you, I
there are.
promise. Are you good,
Yeah, I
Donna?
think we're good.
Would you mind coming up, Donna? I don't know if they'll be able to hear you back there, and I just. Right, just on the, one of these chairs, fine.
So I learned a lot too, and my first question is actually for all three of you, which is, do you have, and I don't know if this is based on the number of residents that you have in the town, but do you have enough of the equipment that you need? So you're looking at fire trucks or ambulances for 3,600 people. Is that currently enough with what you have now? Yeah.
I think so. It is, it depends on the situation. Obviously, we call mutual aid from apartments around for a reason, but, yeah, we're meeting the standards that we need.
Okay, so there's no worry that there's a lack of.
No, it's not a lack of equipment, it's the age of the
The age of the
equipment and keeping things.
Which is
current.
older than I am, it sounds like.
Some of it, yes, but I mean, we are up to date on it as much as we can.
And
So-
so, actually lucky enough that we have a wide, not all 1,000-gallon tankers, we have a 3,000-gallon tanker, we have a source truck, we have extrication truck, we have 2 brush trucks, so. You know, there's a wide variety, and so we're actually in good shape as far as that, but
Okay.
I believe for the town.
Just so I'm clear for everybody else. This is a little variation from what we normally do, but I think these are pertinent questions down on that. While these organizations are sitting right here, normally we don't do a question and answer, but it's a little different tonight. So while you have some valid questions, I'm gonna allow that. Just so I don't want somebody coming back at me later on down the road, but I want,
And I
that was a very
appreciated
good
the
question.
presentation, but I didn't know how many.
And while they're sitting here in front of you, which probably may not happen again, really, you know, where you have all three,
Right,
right? Okay, so I just want.
okay.
Yeah.
And then my next question was, it's sort of a 2-part question, but do you have any outstanding bills right now that are really, causing you to maybe stress out, that,
Like a mortgage or a truck payment?
well, anything really that's out there that you're
Our concern,
concerned,
because ours are a little bit older, are air packs.
the air packs? And my last question, sorry for so many, but,
That's fine.
is, do you think that you all want more than just being on the ballot article?
As far as,
I'm sorry, Jen.
no, you're fine, as far as what do you mean as far as that, like more funding from there, or what do you
Do
see?
you envision, or are you thinking that it might be time to be more than just on the ballot articles, more of like financially a part of the country?
It's been talked about, but as far as being a part of the town, no. Like, I mean, we all want to maintain our independence as far as that goes, I mean, as far as.
If,
Not being a town owned
Right.
that, no.
Right. If it not town owned, but if it was in the budget and they cut us a check, that's different.
Right,
Right.
well,
But
right.
the departments, we
Oh, that
each
makes
wanna
sense.
run our own departments and make our own decisions. We know where the money needs to go or what we need to buy more than like the town
Their own edit.
would know.
So, because there are some places where it's like building is one, everything else is separate.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been discussed.
Oh, I didn't know.
Go ahead, you're here.
Is there any, and Terry, you might know this, is there any benefit to becoming a fire district? Is there anything in terms
So
of
we've-
bonds
We
or?
just recently started talking about it. Jason and I have had a conversation, and we don't know, to be honest with you. There is, Williamstown has a fire district and Bennington Rural has a fire district. They do very well with it. And I think the money's pulled from the taxes and then the check is given to the fire district. But each one of those are set up differently. And then we would have. And again, we just recently started talking about, we'd have to research it to see how it would go and how to get under some type of prudential committee or something that would operate it. That's the chief's would answer to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks,
Any more questions?
Not a question, it's just. Any fire or rescue, I can speak freely on my own behalf for them, not for them officially. It seems that the select board is supportive of basically that. I think the problem is the general public is malinformed because of our really crappy means of communication just in Vermont as a whole, especially in Powell. You know, some people read the paper, most people don't. Some stuff shared on Facebook. A lot of old people don't have Facebook. A lot of young people now don't have Facebook. A lot of misinformation. If we could find out what way to get around that to explain that these guys I was on Powell Fire for several years and then Powell Valley and then Powell Rescue during that whole time. Their biggest concern is making sure that they don't become this massive tax burden to the town. So when they're coming here saying, we need money, is what it comes down to. If you want protective services for your town, we need more money. It's not because they're gonna benefit financially. For the rescue staff, for example, in my short time of 7 or 8 years, Craig and Crystal were running at the time, sacrificing far too much to run the rescue squad. And then it was Mark and Becky after that have sacrificed and did sacrifice far too much to make sure the rescue squad runs. They forego vacations, personal time. They'd be here sick as a dog running calls to make sure that the town was covered at their own expense. And so just for public, when they're coming asking for more money, it's because they care about this town. And they know the solution to the problem, as the select board already said, is money. There's no other solution, literally no other solution besides the money.
It's the biggest hurdle.
And so I just want to say from the personal time I spent with all these people that are fully dedicated to this town. And it's not 1980 anymore, it's 2024, and we need to upgrade our fire and EMS systems to 2024, the year that everybody else lives in, besides some people in Powell here. So I just want to support the rescue squad and fire department. They're in it for life, some of them forever. I'm not on anymore, not because of any personal issues. I just had a different career calling that I followed. And so I'd be more than happy to speak more in the future in a personal way, but also supportive, not benefiting in any way from either of these groups.
Thank you.
Ellen?
Thank you. I would want to support all departments also. Whether we're volunteer or paid, we're all in the same boat. We all put our lives on the line and somehow we definitely need to figure out what to do to keep our community safe when you're out there. Come on in and join us, and then you will see. We'll be glad to give you an application if you have any questions. Come meet us. We meet Monday nights. Both fire departments, if I'm correct, whether we're doing a training or, and I don't know when you, but there's always somebody here at the rescue squad. That's all I have to say. I just am in support of helping all three departments.
Anybody else?
The only thing I wanna add is. The other piece with the equipment and everything else. Is the townspeople need to understand. If our departments don't have the proper training equipment that is needed. Our ISO rating drops. Our ISO rating affects everybody's home insurance rates. So if we maintain a decent ISO, then your insurance rates maintain a decent level. We all know that that's not good, but it's another point factors on it.
Does anybody know what the town ISO rating is right now?
I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, I'm not, it was never
I
very
forgot to look it
high.
up, honestly.
There was
The
never
last
a high,
time-
because we don't have a higher system that, whatever, there's a whole bunch, there's a lot of factors,
There's more
but that is totally correct,
Right.
okay? There's a lot of issues that go with an ISO rating, but
Right,
that is 100% correct on that for sure.
and it's also how close you live to
Miss-
a fire station, to
Water source, there's a
Water
whole
sources
pile of
that
stuff. I
affect
went
your
through this years ago when I was.
insurance. When you call, new homeowner calls for insurance, or you're calling around to update your insurance, they ask you how many miles from this, how many miles from that, how close are you to this, so
So,
it does help your insurance rate.
is there anybody else on Zoom that has their hand up? Anybody else in the room that wants to speak this one?
I got something I wanna say.
Waited this long, Bob.
Well, I wanna hear everybody out.
I know.
I've been in the fire service longer than what most of you have been alive. I got 60 years in the fire service. I started in 1964 in Bennington. That was altogether a different operation than what it was when I moved to Powell. When I moved to Powell, moved in 69. We started East Station over there in 1970. We started with an old hen house that Doc Landfair gave us that we dragged down the road. It was about 1980. We had earned enough money selling Christmas trees. The auxiliary had bake sales. And we had all different kinds of raffles. And we built our own station. You can't do that anymore. You've got to hire these people that are making a bigger living with a lot more money. And I've seen a lot of changes. And it seems like we have an issue too, isn't just equipment, it's personnel. A lot of people can't leave their jobs like they used to. Lawyers don't let them. So that hurts response time. I stayed in the fire service this long because there's nobody around during the day, and it's been in my blood for a long time. My father was in for quite a number of years too. And I just hope that there's a way that we can take care of this mess that we're in, basically, without hurting a lot of taxpayers. That's it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
You know, I'm gonna sum up a couple things and then we'll get out of here. Unless somebody has something else. So, Bob, I'm not gonna, I've never disagreed with you very much, but I'm gonna disagree a little bit. I don't think we're in a mess yet. Okay, I think we're headed for it townwide. But I don't think that any single person who's involved or has been involved in the rescue squad or the fire departments in our town has let us get into a mess. Okay? We are headed there. I'm not gonna disagree with that, but we're not there. We're trying to head that off. And right now, after some of the discussion I had tonight, or heard tonight, not that I had, but I heard some of the presentations that I heard, some of the ideas and comments that I heard, and along with the questions, I have formed sort of a plan in my head where we can try to move forward. All of us. The town and our emergency services. I heard a lot of things. And I'm usually pretty good at retaining most everything I heard. I did make some notes too, which I never do, but I did tonight. I think we'll head in a direction where and we're gonna have to have some meetings. I'm not gonna lie to anybody sitting here. Right, we're gonna have to sit down and we're gonna have some discussions that are gonna have to be, they'll have to be work sessions. I guess I'm not sure how we'll take care of it. But some of it's gonna have to be maybe even an executive so that we can talk about things and how they need to happen, or how everyone agrees that they need to happen. Right? I'm not sure how we're gonna do that yet, but we'll figure that out when we get there. But I want to thank everyone for their input. I think there was some some thought put into into some of the questions. Donna had some great questions. Jim had some really good comments tonight. Everyone else that had some comments and some questions, input, I think was really beneficial, or will be beneficial in the long run here. And it's gonna have to happen sooner rather than later. Right? And we all know that. Carolyn?
Yes, excuse me, Caroline Markov. I've been on the Power Rescue Squad for many years, and my husband was fire department and rescue squad. And fundraising really change. It's always difficult, but it is rewarding in so many ways when you see what you can get when you've received the supplies or equipment. But I'd like to point out today, with trying to get funds, because of our community size, where we respond, and that we can get some of this equipment in mutual aid services, so that is why we're denied. I've been working fundraising for years, and that is it. We have what, 3,500 people here. We can get a tool in Bennington. We can get something in Massachusetts. Everybody's there to help us. So we don't qualify to get them. And it's not that we don't have reasons for it. We do, but we're too small. And that's part of it.
Thank you, Cameron. I think we covered pretty much everything tonight, unless somebody has something else right away. I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank everyone for the participation tonight in the general public and through our emergency services organizations. I think we've opened some eyes for sure. And that's kind of was part of the goal. So if nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Mike, aye.
Bill, I.
Carl? Same as opening. We're good. Thank you. Thank you.
Aye. Oh, I hate.
You're too late, Carl. You're late to the show.
Oh, you don't want what I got, so.
Good night, Carl.
Good night. Thank you.